Welcome to Blastland podcast, No Limits, Just Stories, where we explore the minds shaping tomorrow's world. Today's guest is a true pioneer, a globally recognized AI educator and visual technologist, creative partner for leading AI platforms including Runway, Luma, Pika, Kling, Hailuyo. She has reshaped digital storytelling through generative AI. She's collaborated with Inter Milan, cosmetic giants, and even took part, or better to say, is currently taking part in the stunning visual development of Amazon's House of David. With over 100,000 AI images and over 10,000 videos, Heather Cooper, literally building the future of visual culture and is an inspiration to millions of people around the world. Heather, welcome to Blastland podcast.
Thank you so much, Dmytro. I appreciate it. That was a wonderful, intro. So thank you. I'm very flattered.
We are very thrilled having you tonight. Heather, we start all our podcasts with a sort of icebreaker. And in your case, I really had to be creative and I hope you like it. So, and here it is. Let's start with something funny. You've been blending pixels in the world of generative AI. And here's a quick game. I name you two things, and you tell me which one fits Heather Cooper, the AI artist, better today. Or maybe you surprise us with a wild third option. And here it
Okay.
is. So, Heather, lab coat or leather jacket?
Oh, that's a good one. I think leather jacket, definitely.
Pharmacy
Oh,
shelf or prompt journal?
hmm. I think in this case, probably the pharmacy shelf. I do pick a lot of interesting options off the shelf.
That's a great choice. The third one, Atlanta Sunrise or Midjourney Galaxy?
Mid-Journey Galaxy. I think it's prettier.
Good. The last one, and probably the hardest one. If your life were a movie title today, what would it be called?
Hmm. What's behind that door?
Wow.
Not very creative, but I don't
It,
know. So,
it is. It is. It is. Well, we are actually over with the icebreaker. We're gonna switch to the podcast now.
okay,
No, thank you for these prompt answers,
no
Heather.
problems.
Before we head to the serious and the very funny and entertaining stuff, I would like to talk with you about curiosity, your career turns, and childhood. Tell us a bit about little Heather. What were you like as a child? Any early signs you'd end up in a world of creativity?
Well, I was actually very creative, imagination. When I started reading when I was very young, probably like 3 years old, my mother told me. And I was constantly reading books and just dreaming of things. And I was often sick a lot when I was a little girl. So I would spend a lot of time at the doctor, sometimes the emergency room, hospital. So I planned to be a doctor when I grew up. And my mother was a guidance counselor for school. And she convinced me maybe you should think about being a pharmacist. It's a little bit less school and you can have, a pretty regular life, spend time with your family. So I thought, why not? And so I went into pharmacy. So but I wrote a lot of stories and just, read books always. So, but when you go into a healthcare field, you really can't be very creative. And once you're in that field, you don't have much flexibility to do other things. So I worked a lot of different areas of pharmacy where I was in the hospital, retail stores, clinics, for the government, doing, claims analysis. And during the pandemic, I was doing the vaccine clinics where I would go out as soon as the vaccine was released. I went out and started vaccinating seniors. And this is when everything was still closed down, did, larger centers, and then, continued on working with computer analysis and things like that related to healthcare. But I had lost my job at some point, and it was a little difficult to get back into the workforce until the pandemic. And then when I was able to go out and vaccinate because they needed people with my skill set. But I decided once that was over, I'm going to get a new skill. And that's when I decided to go take a coding boot camp. So I learned full stack web development during that time, and 6 month course within a university, learning how to make web apps, front end, back end. And then that's what brought me online. I wanted to write about technical articles. And also, I did some freelance writing for different healthcare websites and online just to kind of build up some credibility, blogging. I came over to Twitter then, and that's when I started. I never left Twitter. I still do some of the other things, but I really love Twitter. I started a writing challenge on Twitter, and that's what brought me over there. But I got a great coach who helped me, Thomas, and he helped me understand how to grow my account on Twitter. At the same time, I like visuals. I like visual information to share information. I'm a pharmacist. People understand it better when you show them and tell them. So I was interested in that and talking about how to write online and how to make your information easily accessible to anyone. With that related to different AI image models, and then when ChatGPT came out, learning how to use all of them together, that's kind of how I pivoted from pharmacy to generative AI. Because one of the biggest things is pharmacy's fine and healthcare is fine, but generative AI gives you immediate dopamine, and it's always something new every single day. And it moves so fast. Just being in there from the ground up at the beginning help me understand how a lot of these different tools work and see the evolution of them. So I was still working full time as a pharmacist while I was building up my profile online until last September. And now I'm doing this full time. So it's pretty incredible. It's a weird jump, but it just kind of happened over a few steps.
What a story, Heather. Before we continue, to all our listeners, Heather Cooper has an amazing Twitter channel with almost 50,000 active subscribers following what she's doing. So, guys, everyone subscribe to Heather's Twitter channel. Heather, what emotions and thoughts did you battle during this transition to such a different career path when you did get first in touch with AI?
Well, you feel like you're kind of a lot of imposter, especially for the visual content. And just being able to learning how to post online and not be afraid is a skill that you have to learn because it's scary to put yourself out there. And at the time, back in 2021, I believe, people were very vicious, and you would get a lot of nasty comments and replies and hate messages and things where there a lot of traditional artists and people just had really visceral reactions to it. So learning how to ignore that is it's still difficult sometimes because people still do that today, but it's not quite as bad. But it's feeling like you don't know enough about machine learning or how diffusion models work and being able to explain it to other people. I often felt like I wasn't qualified to talk about it, but I did use the tools a lot, and I use them a lot more than most people. So just sharing, I like to approach it as if I can do it, you can too. And that's how kind of how I would learn how to use it and then show people what I was doing with it. So there was a lot of being a female too. There's not many females that are really active. There are, but the males usually dominate a lot of the media, YouTube channels, and things like that. Also, having a family at the same time, having to, hold live in both worlds where I could sit on the computer all night, but I have kids and family, and I have to make sure they have what they need and pay attention to them. So just different things like that.
That's a very interesting point, Heather. Thank you for sharing with us. I would also have a set of questions for you. One of them is about inspiration, which we are going to touch left and right in the next time when talking with you. But anyway, a very, very simple question. Where do you get your inspiration from?
It's hard. It just kind of, I have a very active mind all the time, and I can see things on the Midjourney Explorer page, or somebody might post it, or I just really like one of my results, and it gives me ideas for other things I can do with it. Like, why not make this a bigger world? I really like that sunset. Why don't I add a coastal city with it? And just kind of thinking things through that. I like a lot of different styles. So I try to push it all the time. If I get something, I might say, I like it, but I wish I could make it look more realistic, but still a little bit anime. And I wish I could add more 3D immersion to that to make it seem or more atmospheric effects. So I'm always like tweaking and actually just adding more and more and more. And I often reuse many prompts, like for several versions. I have prompts that I'll just go back through and almost like flipping a dice or a card, pulling one out, trying it, and then I get lost into that particular set of prompts.
Do you remember your very, very first AI generated image and how did you feel about it?
I think my first one was probably on Night Cafe because I was afraid to use Midjourney. It was too confusing and I didn't understand Discord. So I think I went with like a cyberpunk um, warrior princess or something. And it was pretty amazing because I just couldn't believe that I watched it diffusing and coming up, and it was like, wow. So I like the colorful styles, and it looked pretty crazy. It didn't look very realistic, but it was amazing because I am not artistic. I'm not a very good, I can't draw and paint very well. So I can imagine it, but I can't make it happen on the page. So it was pretty amazing.
Cool, cool. That's something that stays in the memory forever, probably. You mentioned being not qualified enough back in the days, or afraid not being good enough. How do you push through moments of doubt now?
Yeah, I still have that a lot. And I do try to, remind myself that I'm often in a bubble online, in on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and I'm talking to people that are in the same world that I live in. But even if I speak to my own family, they have no idea what I'm talking about. So even I realize that I know a lot more than the majority of the public. So just depending on who I'm speaking with, I try to keep that in mind. And I do, I like to push myself so that back then when I didn't know enough, I'm always constantly learning and learning how to phrase things and talk about what type of language to use to describe these tools and what they do. So that gives you more confidence also, just understanding more of the category you're talking about so that you can speak intelligently about it and at least seem as if you understand what's going on. And you're never going to know every detail of it. And I've found that where I deal with people, even PhDs, research scientists who are working, they know a certain set of details about it, but they don't know what happens when you're putting in certain prompts. What does it respond to? So I've been able to feel more confident knowing that I know more practical information. I know what I know about it. And it may not seem like I have a PhD behind my name for machine learning, but I do understand things that I could teach them about these types of tools, even for not just image models. and video models for the LLMs. And they can't possibly understand everybody's use case and how people are using it. And that I think that helps. So it gave me a lot more confidence, but I'm constantly trying to learn.
One question I cannot afford not asking you. As you know, we've been doing podcasts with Scott Cohen, the former Chief Innovation Officer of Warner Music, some time ago with Robert Redlove, the Chief Innovation Officer of Airbus. And we love talking about the culture of failure or how to deal with failures. Can you recall, if it's not something too private, one major failure or unexpected pivot that turned out probably to be a blessing in the end?
I did have when, like, about the second year, 2022 or so, I was building my account. I had a lot of Twitter spaces every week that were quite popular, and we talked about AI at every Friday. So I was feeling pretty confident writing, and I was asked to teach a course for like a large platform, like an education platform. And they wanted me to teach a Mid-Journey course. And I knew Mid-Journey quite a bit, but I'm not really a teacher or a course. For me, I was also working full time and I was doing a lot. So I worked remote and I was able to work, I would work my other job right at my office because that was on computer. So they convinced me to teach two mid-journey courses, a beginner's and an advanced course. They gave me a certain amount of time to get it done, and it would have been really major production at a nice rental house with a lifestyle, type of feel. But I didn't, it was too much. I couldn't get it done. And they wanted me to, kind of make it in the tone of somebody on YouTube or something like that. Very intensive. And the money seemed like it was really like something I couldn't pass up because it was still trying to just earn money online. And I pushed myself until I was physically sick. And then I had to drop out of doing it at a couple of days before it would have been shot. And that was a huge letdown because of the money, because I put myself I felt like I didn't know enough about Midjourney to get a course together, that would be filmed and recorded live. And it would have been an all day shoot. But I don't have any experience doing things like that. And being able to teach people how to do it through posts and tweets and LinkedIn things is different than creating a course with a syllabus and the curriculum and going through step by step and having outcomes and results. That's a lot to ask, and it's a lot to ask for one person. It's when you're using generative AI, every time you generate, it's different. You can't predict exactly what's going to happen. It's draining because as you're trying to perfect how you're going to speak about something, you're doing it. So that takes a lot of time. And I think that some of these companies and brands don't realize how draining that is because it's not just writing a post about a certain tool. You're doing it and you're generating with it and you're showing your results while you're doing it. So it's a lot of work. It's very time consuming. And I got over it because it was the best thing that could have happened because it taught me to stop. You don't just take every job is not worth it. I was working late at night. I wasn't spending time with my family. And you have to understand what's important or not. And when people respect you and your time, your time is valuable. And when you give that away, it's priceless, you're not going to get it back. So it taught me a lot of lessons with that. And I realized it probably wasn't the best thing for me to be on this platform teaching a course. Sounded good, but I'm okay with it. And I have not looked back since.
Heather, there is a huge amount. There are dozens of various tools currently in the market. They're coming every day, some new, almost every week, some new updates. Is there a diplomatic way of answering the following question? Amongst the tools today, what are your favorite ones or preferred ones? I understand it's a bit a provocative question, probably, but anyway, maybe you can Give us some practical examples.
Well, I'll say Midjourney is definitely the one that I always, the things that I have open all the time is Midjourney. I usually have Magnific open because I use it a lot. But Midjourney ended up being out of all, especially with the website. I have it open all the time, and I'm that's my go-to. And I usually try everything in Midjourney first. And then I would side Magnific. My video models, I often have Kling. I've been for about a year now. I think I've been stuck on Kling because it is the most reliable for me. Reliable results and working the way I want it to. Even 1.6, 2.0, and it's one that I use professionally too. It really can get it. It's I use that a lot. Also, free pick and Kriya I use frequently because of the options of having different image models in there and different video models. And also now they have a lot of tools that you can use in there. So I probably use free pick a little bit more because it has Mystic, which is helpful. And so since they absorb Magnific, so I might try, say I have a prompt and I want to try it, I'll try it in Midjourney, then I'll run it through Mystic and then Flux, which is my also Flux probably is my second favorite image model. I sometimes use Google Imagen and Ideogram, but for the most part, I would say Midjourney, Flux, Mystic. For video models, other video models that I use frequently are VO2, and I still think that Kling is probably the best out of everything. And then different ones, I would also use Hailu in Luma and Ray 2, Peak, Runway. Runway has been surprisingly Runway is it's the OG, it's the oldest. That the first video, the first time I ever made my image move was with Gen 2. And Runway has captured my heart since then. And when that was the very first creator program that I was a member of. So I always go back to Runway, and now that they've added tools like references, it's amazing. So I take advantage of all these different types of tools. I frequently have them open. For LLMs, ChatGPT is always open, and I have Claude open usually too. And I have used the Claude desktop app. So occasionally use Google Gemini, and I like Gemini because it can analyze videos. So you can ask it, how can I make this video look like this? Can you match the camera movement? Write a prompt that will have that. So I like to use that also. But ChatGPT and Claude.
And for the background sounds and the voicing,
I often use, I don't do as much with voices, but I can use, if for lip sync, Runway, lip sync, and Hedra, I use popular. Since Hedra came out, I was one of the, I really like, I got to test it early and I'm really impressed by Hedra. For the sound, I occasionally use the different platforms models like Kling and FreePic has a sound. Kriya has the sound, AI sound, but I really like Audio, and I use that on one of the developer sites, FOW or Replicate, usually on Replicate. So if it's a short video, just drop it in there, and it can match the sound to the movement of the video and for the composition. If it's other types of longer sound effects or music, I'll use Epidemic Sounds. It's safest. I don't generate as much music, but I have used Udio and Suno.
Heather, the House of David. It's a, it's a highlight. Tell us the story behind it.
It's awesome. The director, John Irwin, the showrunner, reached out to me about 7, 8 months ago, and he had just found out about Midjourney and Runway because people that he was working with on the creative team, they were just kind of messing around using it. So he is a really brilliant person because when he had never touched it before, and he realized the potential of it. So he had all these ideas in his mind for certain scenes, such as the fallen angel sequence. And that was a big story for the giants in the show. And he just sat for one afternoon and created a whole sequence of event, for this particular with Midjourney, Magnific, and Runway. And he did that. So he was so happy and thrilled because he thought if he could have someone else come on to help him with that, or somebody who's dedicated to just doing that for certain scenes, not for everything, fillers, inserts, transitions, and also to help kind of clean up some of the scenes that he had done because he had to direct the show. So that's how I came on board. But he basically introduced that, and he convinced Amazon Prime to let him test these tools out. So we were really a test case, and Amazon was watching. And when the show came out, it ended up staying at the number 2 spot in the US for the entirety of the season until the last episode, the finale. It went to number 1. So Amazon was pretty thrilled with that, and we were working on season 2 at that point. But it was a lot of post-production work for the season 1. Then he decided for season 2, I went over to Greece along with 3 other AI artists, and also VFX artists, and someone who specializes in the Unreal Engine. And we were all working on a team to help kind of shoot the show in advance for certain parts, to help them with the production and help them pre-visualize what to do. And also they had built LED walls, so we made assets for the LED walls to be used as background scenes while the actors were acting in front of it. So it had to be seamless and immersive, where you could not see any artifacts, color changes, and also on loops, like static loops. So it was quite a challenge, but we used a lot of skills with that. But while working there, we met so many other people on the production team that used it in different ways, so they could had some amazing ideas. And just seeing how people who they have a background, years of experience, photography, with stunt coordinators, things like that. They found ways to use this to either help them visualize something, or maybe expand on a scene that they didn't have. It's an
That's
incredible
so
experience
interesting.
with people who are interested in that. But Amazon really loved the idea, and they want to do it more. So it was a great experience to be like one of the first people to do something like that.
Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the very, very first series in the whole world that is partially generated with AI. Is that correct to say?
I think so. I think so. And also to clarify too, because it was 73 scenes, 73 shots out of 700, altogether. And most of those, we didn't replace the actors or anything like that. These were things to kind of fill in. A lot of the scenes you wouldn't even realize that they were AI generated, because they're inserts or transitions between other scenes. So the obvious one, the angel sequence, because that was the beginning of the show. But the actors are the real actors, the hands and things like that. Those are the real actors. Everything else was AI. It was mostly AI driven for that scene. But as far as I know, yes, I think we are the first show that incorporated the AI generative models into the traditional VFX pipeline.
So, to all our viewers and listeners, guys, go to Amazon Prime and hit House of David Season 1, which has been released on the 25th of February this year, and Season 2 is coming.
Yes.
So,
Please see it. It's a great show, and it's just an amazing experience overall. The actors are great. Everybody knows kind of what the story should be because you've heard of David and Goliath, but we're able to bring in some new elements and things that people might not have thought about to make the story more rich.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Heather, before we transit to a bit more chaotic part, because we have prepared a small surprise for our listeners and viewers, we're gonna do something very special which nobody has ever done before on a podcast. But before we do that, I have another question to you. What advice would you give to people transitioning from traditional, let's call them traditional for the sake of simplicity, jobs into the world of creativity and AI?
I would say, for advice, you don't want to do it all at once. You take your time and have a plan, because it costs money to have all these tools, to have subscriptions, and even to run a business, or however you're going to do that. So it depends on what you are interested in, and what your skill sets are. Think about, evaluate what your skill sets are, even soft skills, team, working in a team, managing, you know, coming up with workflows, processes. Some people are really good at mapping out what the process should be. If those are your skill sets, then that might be something you can translate into an AI position. It's hard to go, don't expect there to be jobs that have everything you think you can do or that seem like they fit you. You almost have to convince people what you can do. So you may have to be willing to do certain parts that you don't want to do, the parts you don't like. Your dream job, if it's for me, I'd love to just generate every day. That's awesome. I just create things all day. When I started working with House of David, that was what I actually got to do. But I don't think there's necessarily jobs that are just sitting there like that. At the same time, I work, collaborate with brands, and I learn how to explain things to people. That will help. The more you can explain how these tools work and how to use them, that will help the people who are hiring you and also your audience, if you have an audience. It could be an internal audience within a company, but you have to be imaginative, you have to be persistent, you be consistent, and keep posting things or sharing, writing, blogging about different information, reaching out to people, go to conferences, study and learn about this stuff so that you are able to translate it. You don't know when something will be available, so when it is, or you might be able to help somebody understand that you could be useful in their business and with their brand, with their school or whatever. So if you putting yourself online, and even if it's blogging, gives you visibility. And that's how I was found. When this director, John Irwin, learned about this, he went on to Twitter and started looking for people who were using these tools. He saw my pinned post, which was a tutorial about how to make a quick cosmetic ad. And, he went through that and other things, and that's how he found me. But it's also, I post things every day that are things to show certain things, not just for fun, but to show that I have knowledge about these things, or to help share something with other people how to do it. The people who pay attention to that are not the people who always comment or like it, but they see it. And I found that later, that the people who are the real decision makers, they're not the most active online, but they're watching what you do. So you have to have a way for people to find you. So it kind of helps with that. And also, there's a lot of people sharing their work and communicating and collaborating online. So that's just a helpful, I think it would help, and also to show you the landscape.
Heather, many thanks for that really, really valuable and cool advice. Now I suggest we dive a bit deeper into a bit more chaotic part of our podcast. And the surprise we've prepared for our viewers and listeners, we're gonna, first time in history, do an AI battle online. Well, it's probably in my case, it's definitely not going to be a battle.
Well, who knows?
We'll see. We'll see. Well, the great and big idea is that you, Heather, and myself create simultaneously a prompt We were going to discuss about what. This is I think the most critical and creative part always. And then we're going to make, if you permit, maybe maximum 15 seconds video, mini short film, maybe 10 seconds, we'll see.
Okay.
And if you have suggestions on a topic you would like to choose, please go for it. I have one in my background, but you are the guest, so you
Oh,
have the first line priority.
I don't know. I think that, oh, let's see. Maybe a beach. People, that's always, creating a beach scene is always nice. A beach at sunset.
A beach at sunset on the moon.
Okay, well I like that. I didn't think about that. That's very cool. I like that idea. Okay, I'm logging
So
on to my
we're
video
gonna
model
do
too.
we're gonna do a story about a beautiful beach at the sunset on the moon.
Okay, all right. So you tell me when to start.
Um, we
You
should
want me
be
to share my,
yes. You can click on the share screen.
okay. Mm,
It
And
should start sharing.
oh, okay. So this is
Yay!
Midjourney, and this is one of my many activities. Always just testing different things out. This is an old prompt, so I just kind of I reran it in the new version, in case you're wondering.
Great, great.
So we're gonna do. Um, I'm gonna type here in Midjourney in the prompt box, cinematic scene of a tranquil. No, you want to make it. Let's make it exciting, of a stormy beach on
Mhm.
the moon, highly detailed, um, atmospheric effects,
Uh-huh.
8K resolution, and vivid colors, even though it's on the moon. Okay, so I already have my settings set so that it will do a landscape image. If anybody is wondering, you do go to your settings tab, and that's where you can change that on Midjourney at least. And I'm on
Mhm.
version 7.
Mhm.
So let's see.
It's already generating. Um, to all our viewers, Heather Cooper is sharing her screen. I'm not, because the Riverside allows only one screen to share, but that's great because I'm doing literally the same stuff that Heather is doing, but I'm using different tools than Heather.
What are you using?
Well, I actually went to Sora,
Oh, very nice.
so I'm gonna
Oh, so you're typing
generate.
it directly into the
Yeah, just
um
directly into the field.
okay.
Wow, they look beautiful.
Interesting with the hmm. So do we want to use any of these or more? This is kind of cool.
Yeah, look,
Let me try this one.
look. Yeah,
So
looks
I
really
can make a
nice.
video of this if you want to. And I'm going to share another tab if I can. Share this tab instead. So I'm on Kling now, and I just copied and pasted this video. Now I could cheat on Kling because you can use DeepSeek to generate the prompt, but
Mm-hmm.
I won't do that for now. So I will stick to uh, let's see, a stormy beach on the moon, dynamic lighting. I'll just keep it simple and generate. I'll do 5 seconds to make it faster
Mm-hmm.
and see what happens there. So that should takes about 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a result for Sora yet?
Yeah, I did, but you know what? Sora has shown me with the same, literally same prompt that you've got, totally
Oh,
different results. It has shown me a beautiful beach with thunderstorm, but it has shown me the moon on the horizon. So actually, I wanted the beach to
oh,
be on the moon
on
and
the
not the.
moon, yeah.
That's a bit fancy, so I had to redact the prompt and ask him not to show the moon in the prompt.
Yes,
so,
and
so I'm
that's
still
the joy
waiting.
of AI, joy of generative AI. You may not get what you asked for, but
Exactly.
stay persistent and keep
Yeah.
trying.
So now he managed to generate something, and it looks actually not too bad. And I'm gonna share with you afterwards the final result, but that's okay.
Okay.
So I'm gonna use
Well,
Heather the same prompt for 5 seconds with Hey Luyo.
okay. I see a stormy beach, and that's a good. And you can even use one of the director mode, the, the camera motion, like scenic view.
I'm gonna use either the, yeah, you're right, scenic shot. I'm gonna use scenic shot.
Okay. Well, I got my results here. Pretty impressive, I think. Um, Pretty simple. I just kept it there. Kling. This is 1.6, and
Well,
like that the waves are moving, the water's moving, those clouds are moving slightly. The whatever, I guess that's the sun up there. That is this. It looks overall. It kind of looks like it could be on the moon. I do like that.
looks nice.
Possibly. Yeah. So
Looks,
I will. So see what you got. I will
yeah,
stop
it's still
sharing.
Hailuyo is still generating. It will
It
take
takes a
some.
little while,
Yeah, it
but
does.
it is the video models have gotten so much better where you don't have to tell it as much, I found, where you can give it a pretty simple prompt where you don't have to tell it every single cinematic shot of a beach and the color is gray and the sky is dark. It can tell, it can read the image, especially if it's an image model, image to video. And it seems like it can understand it easier and faster and generates really high quality that you don't really always see that many artifacts, blurry, distortion, morphing, hallucination.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also do like very much Kling. Even though 1.6, as you said, it's really great, and there are quite predictable outcomes in most cases. And what I found interesting, by the way, some time back, I was trying, I did it as well, generate some videos with musicians playing the guitar. And it was so interesting to see that Luma, back in the days, was the only capable tool to replicate the finger moves on the guitar graph. And that was for me a funny discovery. It was already like 5 months ago, but
Yeah,
I think currently all the AI tools are capable to play the guitar.
people don't understand how, yeah, that is such a big deal, even to have fingers that move properly. That's a
Yeah,
huge deal. It's come a long way very quickly, and it has a long way to go, but it's still, I appreciate some of the, a lot of the innovation so far. It's pretty amazing to see.
it is. It is. Heather, the video prompt is ready. I'm gonna share my screen, and so I think you can see it now.
Yes. Oh, that's very cool.
So,
Oh,
well, it's hanging a bit, but the flashes are a bit strange. Um, somehow somehow it's hanging. I don't know why.
I like the
Now
planet in
it's
the
good.
background, like Venus back there, right? Um,
Something like
that's
this.
Jupiter. Yeah.
And, and very strange flashes there, like not hitting the ground properly. Well, obviously it's too much for the streaming latency, but somehow it's hanging a bit though.
Yeah, no, but it's really cool to see. And you got the image, you generate the image on Sora?
Yes, this were the outcomes that he suggested me in the first run. And you see, somehow he brought the moon here. And then I asked him in the second try not to bring me the moon, but somehow he still brought some planet, probably Venus.
Yeah,
And the other one was this one. Also beautiful. Actually, a nice image.
yeah, I like
Well,
it. So that's from a few minutes of work. That's pretty cool to be able to just try a few ideas. And how do you feel when you do that? Like when you're able to make an image and then have it move.
it's crazy emotions. I remember my first time when I dealt with that. It was in April, no, in March 2024, when you remember when Luma was still in the children's shoes, and I generated some for Blastland. We've been doing our story about the girl and the dog in the post-apocalyptic world of Blastland, and I generated a first 5 second scene of kind of zombie running around, and it was like amazing. It was the first AI shot I ever made. Like the zombie is running. It looks very AI, but still it's moving. Wow! And that was, I remember this evening. I could not sleep one night after that. And at that moment, I somehow understood it's the world is gonna change soon. Uh,
Yeah. Like it's not that we're going to replace everything with AI, but the possibilities that you can imagine now when just any types of storytelling, expressing yourself in a whole different way. So cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, um, Heather, maybe an interesting question that all the people around the world are discussing left and right. There are some people who are very euphoric about it, the others are very conservative. Nevertheless, what ethical lines should, in your opinion, never be crossed in AI generated storytelling?
Well, there's a lot that can happen for sure. And I think using people without their permission, their likeness, um, people share a lot online and that's their choice to share. But for people to just change it, and if somebody has made a video of me speaking, that would be very offensive because I mean, yes, it's funny and there's fair play when you are a public figure, but everybody online is not necessarily saying, okay, I'm the president of this country, use me. Even for that, like we can't necessarily stop that because people are going to have memes and different things like that about world leaders, important people, even actors. But when you start doing things, there's a lot of potential for bad. I don't know how to say whether it should not be crossed because a lot of things are going to be hard to watch. I have 4 kids, so I'm concerned about um, minors having children or people misrepresenting children or sexual types of thing, deviance. That's a scary thing, and people can do. Although people are doing a lot of things already online that without AI. I don't have a particular thing that stands out really, and I know that it can go either way. Deep fakes, even for media political purposes, representing things that did not happen, that's going to be a problem because eventually there's a lot, people are going to be able to make things appear that they happen and get people pretty outraged about it, and it could lead to a lot of violence and distrust. I don't know how we can really monitor that because there's so much freedom of people around the world on the internet and on their own computers and running things locally. It's I think I hope that they, a lot of times for schools, they're able to find a way to use it to help children learn, to have their own individualized learning instead of demonizing it and making it seem like the kids feel like they're cheating if they use AI tools when it can help them study. So things like that, I hope that people just learn more about it. People that make policies learn more about it, understand more about it so that we can make reasonable laws and regulations for it. It's kind of difficult to say what can't be crossed because every day we don't know what is about to, who's going to just come up with some kind of way to use it that it would cross a line. So yeah, it's a blurry thing, and I don't really get much into it because it's just really hard to have everybody on the same page to understand how it's being used. We know certain things are that shouldn't happen, but it's almost like if you don't want to guess what bad ways people will use it.
Absolutely, absolutely. We see the same trends, and I think an open and transparent discussion and education to the public would be of big help, showing and explaining why it's not okay doing exactly the things that you mentioned before. I think in general, from what I'm observing, the bigger platforms like Runway, Kling, they're doing a great job in terms of moderation, and we wish them a lot of luck and patience with all the guys who are trying to insert some very sensitive prompt.
Yes, yeah. People get upset, but you have to have it. You just
Yeah,
can't let people, there's creativity and then there's just abuse and things that should not happen. And we see that on some of the sites that do allow not suitable for work type things where it can get very stomach turning quickly. So
it does. It does, absolutely. Talking about children and education, you mentioned it already. How do you see generative AI changing education for the good, for the children and for the work in the next, let's say, 5 years?
I know that my parents are teachers and a lot of people in my family. And today, teachers do not have enough time, at least in the US, they don't have enough time to spend with children. And children are coming home and throughout their entire time from when they're very young, when they first enter school, they have a lot of work to do at home. I didn't have to do that much. I don't know that it's helping them learn more, but it seems as if they just don't have enough time to go over that much material in the school day. So advise my children to use it in ways where to help explain a concept in a different way until they understand it, to help them go through lessons and organize it in a way to find the similarities, the comparisons, and the contrasts, and how to present a different opinion on something, how to organize their notes into a better way. Notebook LM is awesome, to create the podcast to go over complex topics. To me, I see it as a way that at whatever level you're at, you really have your own personal tutor and you have a personalized learning plan that if you work with, it's helping you learn. And how is that cheating? If it's showing you everybody learns differently, and that's why I love visual information because it crosses all barriers of a language, education. I think people can see, visualize things if you make it in a way that they can understand it. That helps. And it can help people in higher education too, where I wish that I had a way to, the massive amounts of information I had to study as a pharmacist to become a pharmacist, every drug class, the method, route, mechanism of action, the route of administration, what are the strengths that come in. So these LLMs can teach you how to visualize it and also how to organize those things in a logical manner for you in your own style. It would have been so helpful. And patient counseling to be able to explain to people what step comes first and how to the pictures. It's like a warning label that you could have a video that creates for people to understand how to take their medication and how to explain that to their families. There's just so many uses for it, and I hope that there's more people learn more about it and the fear of it. You can't just be afraid of it if you don't understand it. And like I said, having the open conversations and learning more about how it can help in different ways versus thinking that it's only a tool to cheat.
That's great. Thank you for that, Heather. Very, very inspiring. I have a very short questions for you left. The most inspiring book you've ever read?
Oh, wow. It's weird, but I used to want to be a writer. Maybe I will one day, but probably Stephen King on writing. That's one that always sticks with me for practical advice. I like reading fiction, but for that, I really like that because there was a lot of practical advice for writing.
Stephen King is a legend. It's my favorite.
Absolutely.
It's, it's my favorite, especially the movies they've done as well on his books. They are great. They're great, all of them.
And his books take you to a new world.
My favorite is the Pet Cemetery. You remember it?
Oh, yes, yes. I mine is the Dark Tower for the books, the Dark Tower series.
The Dark
I
Tower.
love that.
That's it. Your favorite movie, Heather?
Oh boy, that's tough. Um, ugh, it's really hard because I like some odd things. I like underdog stories like Braveheart.
And your favorite musician or band or song?
I like hip hop. I love hip hop, so I'll say Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay,
I almost wore a shirt today. Wu-Tang.
that's that's great. That's great. Heather, it was a truly inspiring talk to you. I cannot even transmit you my happiness and emotions through the Riverside cameras. It's literally impossible. Not
Thank you.
even with AI. Um, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful, and so is our community that will be listening to our talk with great inspiration. And
Thank you.
well, it's a story. It's a story you've got for all of us, and it shows to the people that this transition from a job that you've been doing into the world of generative AI, into the world of creativity, is a road, is a very highly likely a stony road, but a very interesting road at the same time.
The
So
best kind. Best kind of journey.
it is. It is. Heather, we are thrilled to see the House of David very soon on our
Thank
screens.
you.
We wish
Thank you.
you all the best and a lot of inspiration, a lot of interesting iterations with new people, with the people, and of course with AI.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And your listeners, I thank you all for listening to this story. I wouldn't have thought it was that interesting, but I hope that you were able to get something out of it.
Thank you very much, Heather. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.